Globalists are taking over, and they're going to try to say that you're a conspiracy theorist. Don't believe them. Hey, this is Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Thanks so much for joining myself, conservative Cat, and David Paul Blumenshine. David Paul Blumenshine, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, Kat. This is our harvest is plenty, the laborers are few, and we are going to talk about this harvest season and what lies ahead, right? Because this is the time to prepare. Not knowing, so many things are happening all around us, and I think it's important that we prepare ourselves. And we're going to do that today, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
this is going to be a harvest special, so I'm
this is a
excited
harvest
about it.
special, and get out and enjoy the harvest season.
Be sure to watch us live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble, folks. We're live there, and subscribe to the YouTube channel, The DPB Show, and Kat Peterson on 929 on YouTube. So, David, we're talking about the global elites and the left wing media and how they're doing their best to try to paint everything that they're planning as some sort of grand conspiracy theory. We know that it's not a conspiracy theory; that it's actually true. And
Conspiracy facts.
conspiracy facts.
And we're borrowing most of this content from a gentleman named Doug Casey. He wrote an article, and it really kind of mirrors Glenn Beck's book, Dark Future. And I think none of us on the conservative side of the aisle, as we look out there, are too surprised by where things are going, because most of the people on the conservative side are faithful people. Therefore, we look at the issues at hand in a given day, and we go back to the BIBLE.
Basic instructions before leaving Earth. Huh,
That's right.
funny how
Which
that
is what this is about, right? Preparing ourselves.
Yeah.
And you know what? Doug Casey, in his article, 11 Assumptions About the Future, he's quick to just right out of the gate. I mean, he doesn't mince any words. He says the global elites will attempt, and this is the number one point. The global elites will attempt to restrict and regulate our ability to move, whether through vax passports. We've seen that, right? They attempted that through the COVID crisis. Increased visa requirements. We saw that with the restriction of travel during the COVID crisis. And then now the newest thing that we kind of pointed out on the morning show earlier this week, that, Kat, you were surprised that the town of Normal is actually a smart city. And it's smart cities, 15-minute city initiatives. There will be restrictions that we all need to prepare for.
Yeah, and I can't believe what these smart cities actually are. So I'm looking into it and I'm trying to figure out what a smart city actually is. And it's this technocracy. So Diane Benjamin, she actually did this really good piece and it talks about 15-minute cities. And really what it is, it's all about surveillance and monitoring and taking away your rights as a citizen. And they create like this technocracy where they know your every move. I mean, if I drive from my house to the grocery store, they're gonna know how long it takes me to get to my house to the grocery store. And if I get outside of that routine, that's where the red flags start to go up and they're like, whoa, 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 she's out of order. She's not following her routine. And they try to pitch it to you as, hey, we're trying to make life convenient for you. This is sustainable. This is awesome. And it's
Well, a lot of us in our businesses, we've heard about digital fencing, and that's the equivalent of this thing on steroids, right? They have cameras that they put out there, whether they're set up for traffic, calming, whether they're out there to capture license plates, whatever it might be. All the surveillance cameras that are in the businesses that we shop up, that this is what this is about. 15-minute cities. They don't want you to travel any more than 15 minutes away for everything, because it limits your movement. Therefore, they can control your movement. And in the bigger picture of things, is it really about climate change and restricting your carbon footprint? No, it is truly about depopulation and controlling you.
listen to how dystopian this is. So in November of 2020 or 2017, the town adopted an aggressive, human-centric vision and a
Human-centric.
long-range comprehensive plan to create a completed, connected, and compact community by 2040. What does that mean? Compact community, connected and complete. And it's a long-range comprehensive plan and it's human-centric. It's anything but human. these smart cities.
Well, and yeah, you hit it upon it. That's so true because it's word salad. This is what they do best. They try to put lipstick on something that's diabolical.
Hmm.
It's underhanded. It's not transparent. They never really you question these people, and they will instantly start debasing you or defaming you, calling you everything in the book: racist, white supremacist, xenophobic, extremist, that you're just pandering or whatever adjective they want to apply. They've mastered the art of gaslighting.
Hmm.
And that's what this statement is on their website. It's
Yeah.
gaslighting.
Yeah, it's all gaslighting. I like that. The global elites will attempt to restrict and regulate our ability to move, whether through vax passports, increased visa requirements, or 15-minute city initiatives. And our very own city, David, is a 15-minute city. I mean, it's plain as day. It's a smart city right here. That's what these 15-minute cities are. Um,
That's right. And
it's not a
ultimately,
conspiracy. This is that they're
eh,
being very open and honest about it. Hey, we're going to create a smart a smart city.
and we're also seeing it with the Economic Development Council and their push to build 9,000 more housing units in McLean County. They want to draw people out of the smaller communities because those people are commuting, right? If you live in Ellsworth, Cooksville, Gibson City, and you're commuting to Bloomington every day, that's anywhere from an hour to 40 minutes of a round trip travel. They want you not to do that. So therefore, they're trying to build these multi-family units, and they're driving up the price of single family units. People can't afford it. Can they do? My daughter Cassidy in Mahomet lives in one of these mega facilities,
Mm,
where they have everything there on site. Now,
yep.
granted, they're very poorly run. I don't know who's behind it. It's mostly investors, as my assumption is when it gets down to it. Companies like BlackRock are who control these mega developments, and that's who's probably pitching this to the Economic Development Council, that we need more housing, even though the population in McLean County hasn't really expanded, nor has it in the state of Illinois. There's a reason that we have 17 congressional leaders now in the state of Illinois versus 18, because we lost population and they had to remap, and that's where we at. We're losing population, but yet if you listen to our governor, you listen to the local economic development council, it seems like we're growing.
Yeah, but we're not. They're trying to convince us that we need more of these multifamily complexes that have everything right there. And I love this because you've seen it over time.
Hmm.
And in the normal proposal, and I'm just going to read from it here. It's the January 2022 Smart City Report,
Yeah.
because the town of Normal is a smart city. They say
Yeah.
smart cities do not emerge overnight, but develop over years.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa. So they've been at this for years, and
They
you can
have been.
see it in, my apartment complex. It has a gym, it's got a pool, and they pitch it as luxury and convenience. And it's a once. So now they don't even want you to go drive to the gym. Now they're going to try to get you to stay here. You go to the grocery store in your multifamily
Well, not
complex,
even
mega
go to the
complex.
grocery store, because once again, they would
Deliver.
like delivery.
Yep.
Yeah, they would
Well,
like delivery.
let me read from the report one more time because it's just fascinating to me. I came across this yesterday. This is what a smart city is. At least this is what the town of Normal says a smart city is.
Hmm.
Smart cities are those that can effectively use the power of data and technology to cater to our changing needs of its citizenry. How crazy does that sound, of its citizenry?
Yeah.
Solve current and future challenges and create exciting new services. In the simplest terms, a smart city embraces innovation to change the way the government operates and delivers services. It is as much about the mindset as it is about the technology.
It's basically
What?
taking away your rights and your liberties, and they're these folks who do not like the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. They don't believe in personal individual liberties. They want to restrict that. Obviously, in within Casey's 11 points, number 2 kind of just dovetails off of limiting your movement. Now they want to limit the currency.
Mm,
They want to make it a cashless society. Cash will be eliminated. So you live in these multi-complex or these multi-residential complexes, and now everything about what you do is controlled through how you buy and exchange goods and services. And currency, a central bank digital currency, is on the way. That's what they've been moving for or moving towards, and that's what they're going to continue to grasp at. Um,
Yeah,
we
well,
we
they're
see,
already working towards
yes,
that, and I think that one is probably the second one there, the digital currencies.
yes,
People don't see that as a conspiracy theory so much because we still have folks who remember, paying cash for something, and I mean, you can speak to this, David. I mean, I've always grown up with a piece of plastic in my pocket,
yeah,
right? But my dad,
yeah.
he always paid cash for things, and now you go into a grocery store, that one's not so much where I think that they'll say that it's a conspiracy theory, but people's real life, everyday exchanges with people. You go to the Taco Bell, I think Taco Bell is up there where they're thinking about nixing cash entirely, where you have to go to the Taco Bell and you can't pay for anything with cash anymore. So their lived experiences are not lining up with, the
Cash will be eliminated, and you're right. Generations like myself were not accustomed to the plastic. We had to grow into that, and
Mhm,
and it's very foreign still. Most people in my generation like to carry some cash. We like to know that we have cash on hand. We're not trusting of the delivery of goods and services through, having a card shut off. Because once again, if you're buying something that they don't agree with,
mm,
they can shut your card off. If I have cash, if I have five $100 bills, I can buy $500 worth of goods and services. Now, if a business isn't willing to accept that any longer, then where do we go? And
mhm.
what do we do? How do we operate outside of the the digital cash?
Well, my recommendation is that you don't fall for their push for just digital currency and you actually pay for things with cash. Get your cash out and pay for things with cash. I love this. It's a clip of a
Yeah.
guy in the UK. It's fantastic. I think about it all the time because I'm like, yes, if I ever get into a situation where they're like, no, you can't pay for cash for something, I'm going to be like this guy and I'm going to be absolutely not. You're going to take my legal tender. And he's got this.
Strawberries, right? He was
Yeah,
buying
it's buying
strawberries.
strawberries in the UK. They've already got the digital currency set up. You
Yeah.
can't use, in the UK, you can't use, cash in the
Yeah.
UK or
Cashless society.
yeah, they're already there, and the World Economic Forum, there's an infamous clip out there where this agent is straight up saying, "Yeah, and it's gonna be great because we can make it to where if you make purchases that are nefarious or like, pornography or drugs or something like that, then we can monitor that and shut that down." Now that's how they're gonna pitch it. They're gonna say, "Well, oh, we can take down, your accounts if you're purchasing something nefarious." But come on, if you were to buy a Donald Trump T-shirt, you don't think that Joe Biden's gonna shut off your account because you buy a Donald Trump
Or
T-shirt?
conservative books like Levin's new book, Democrats Hate America, or The Dark Future, Glenn Beck's book,
Mhm,
or even Bongino's book, The Gift of Failure. They're watching everything.
mhm.
And in fact, earlier this week, there was a emergency broadcast system alert that was sent out to all phones, all televisions, all digital forms of communication. What are they doing? I'm sure it's to test, right? To make
Yeah,
sure.
they're gonna say, "Oh, it's a test, it's an emergency thing.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna shut down your accounts if you're purchasing something wrong," and we're actually it's
But
a
they're always gathering data. So how do they, once again, we're not that gullible as Glenn Beck
yes,
says.
we're not that gullible, and
We're suspicious. And you've given us every reason why the cashless, the central bank digital currency. Now you have one place that controls all the world's money.
mhm,
That to me is scary.
mhm. Be like my strawberry friend.
Yes.
No. I'm going to pay for these strawberries and I'm going to use legal tender.
That's right.
And then they threatened the cops on him.
Yeah.
They were like,
Yeah.
we're going to call the cops on you. And
Just
he's like,
wave if you're
he
leaving.
does. He walks out and he just waves and he smiles and he goes, nope, I paid my legal tender. You're taking my cash.
That's
So
as long as it says in God we trust, and they are printing dollars, even though every day that they print them, they're worth less and less. And that's part of what we're going to cover here in these 11 points, that we need to be prepared. We need to know that the global elites have a plan for the future, and it might not be our plan. I hope everybody's enjoying this harvest special that we're having today.
this is a harvest special here on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. The voice you're hearing over there, that's David Paul Blumenshine, the DPB show, which you can catch Sundays from 1 to 3 every single Sunday. And you can catch the Conservative Cat show from 5 to 6 on Saturdays. So we're going to get into the next two topics, right?
Yes, we're going to grab on to the number 3 from Doug Casey's article that Glenn Beck says, really mirrors his book, A Dark Future, the 11 assumptions about the future. And number 3, which plays off of the digital cash in the central bank system, is the digital ID is already here.
Mm-hmm.
He writes that biometrics are the future. And if you have a government issued ID associated with your photograph or a Facebook account or a Twitter account or anything that has your photograph, you're in the system already. That's what I find fascinating. We had talked about it in the last segment, that this emergency broadcast, right?
Yeah.
And people are concerned about that because they're pinging your phone. They know the 15-minute city, there's cameras all throughout. Even when you go through those speed zones, it says you're being digitally recorded, photo enforced. What do you think that photograph is? It's a digital photograph. It's not the old Polaroid, from my days gone by, where you take the picture and you hold it up in front of the light and you wave it to dry.
It's not like that. Nope, it's a digital one, and they're going to pixelate your face, and they can run it through their data systems. And in fact, the law enforcement, right, the license plate cameras, they have come out and said the quiet part out loud, that they use those license plate cameras, and they use these cameras all around to track criminals. So if a criminal were to commit a crime, right, and this is how they pitch it. If a criminal commits a crime, then you can track this person. If he's, fleeing the state, if he's fleeing the country, you can track him from state to state to state to state, because they put his face into the data system, and you can find him. If this guy, they've got that digital pixelation of his face. They run it through their system. If he's in Illinois, commits a crime in Illinois, drives over to Iowa, they'll know just like that. It takes no time at all for them to find out where that guy is. So, this is the thing, is they always pitch it as a good thing, but always they'll use it for evil. When there's humans involved, they're going to use it for evil.
And that's the thing, I heard Glenn Beck earlier this week saying, gosh, I really try to, and he was talking with Levin, making statements that something is evil. But then when he started the listing all the things that are evil, the indoctrination of our children, the mutilation of our children, the fact that they've opened up gambling, that they've opened up the border, the criminals truly are being glorified in today's society, that no cash bail, the Safety Act in Illinois. They just keep moving the needle and trying to move the ball and advance it. And I think that truly is evil, because it is about capturing the hearts and minds of young people and captivating them. And you, and obviously people in your generation, are used to all of this. Like you said, you grew up with basically a computer in the palm of your hand, in a cell phone. I didn't grow up that way. I didn't have to worry about my whereabouts as far as tracking. Now, granted, I'm not saying there isn't some benefit to it. I think that it can be used for good. That's just like the harvest season. The harvest season can be used for good, for harvesting souls, or it can be used for bad, not good. by truly perverting and manipulating people. And that's what this entire article speaks into, with the third point being the digital ID is already here. They're already tracking you. And look how sophisticated it is. If they're so good at tracking, why haven't they apprehended the bomber from J6?
I was just about to say that, DP. They always say that it's a good thing,
Yeah.
that the digital tracking is a great thing and that they're
Yeah.
gonna use it against criminals, but you never hear of these grandiose stories of them actually using it against criminals. Why don't we have the names off Jeffrey Epstein's, client? What do you mean?
You
You
cannot
know?
tell me in the
Why
heart
do
of
we still not have those
it's
names?
funny, right? Because JB was out there, JB Pritzker, Governor Pritzker, lauding how wonderful Chicago is as being named the best seventh year in a row, the best big city in the nation. Okay. Well, and he's probably right in a lot of ways. Chicago is a beautiful city. There's a lot of things I enjoy, but there's a part of Chicago that's not so beautiful, and it has expanded out not only to the suburbs but over to the lake, where people are finding themselves victims of crimes.
Mhm.
Um, but they know who those criminals are.
Yeah.
They've been in the Department of Corrections.
Yeah.
They've had cops out there. They have their digital records. These folks are using cell phones.
Mhm.
It's not like they're criminals from the day gone by that they don't carry. They're carrying a computer in their hand.
But
They're
yet
dealing
they
drugs. They're
still
extorting.
don't put them behind bars.
Why? Well, we're going to get
Yeah.
to that. We're going to get that. Kat, we might be ahead of ourselves because that is part of the movement, right?
Yeah.
Is to take criminals and utilize them and leverage them. And I don't know where exactly that is in Casey's article. It's down in the in oh yes, it's number 6. So we don't want to get ahead of ourselves because we
Don't
got to
wanna
go
get it.
through number 4 first.
Stay tuned for number
That's right.
6.
That's right.
Let's get to number 4. The Greater Depression, about which, so Casey, he cites Simon Hunt here. So Hunt suggests that a market pullback of about 30% between now and early 2024, followed by a pump and a deflationary wipeout in 2025. So
Do you
this is
understand what
the
they're
Great
saying there?
Depression. Yeah,
When they
so
say pump?
it's inflation. It's
Yes.
spend,
I
spend.
mean,
It's Janet
uh,
Yellen sleeping on the button,
well,
printing money.
they're actually they're using it as a pump. You know what a pump is, right? You pump up your tires, right? You put air into it,
Yeah.
inflate.
Just imagine
And then
Janet Yellen.
sometimes you can pump a little more air
Yeah.
and then deflate, right? You can go over there to that little valve and you can expel a little air. Pump, 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 pump. So they're goosing the system, and 30% between now and early 2024. Kat, I don't know, what does it say on your watch? My handy dandy Casio G-Shock watch says that it is we're in October, the early part of October. That's why we're having this harvest special here at Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington, Normal, and beyond, because you can now view us on Twitter, Rumble, YouTube, and Facebook. We're Facebook Live as we speak. And go out there, like, subscribe. But it's October, the first part of October. And this is going to happen. Now, once again, this is a prognosticator. I said the word right. Prognosticator. This
Prognosticator.
is somebody that says, based on historical information, trending,
Mhm.
this is where we're going. This isn't something, once again, conspiracy theory. No, conspiracy facts. All these things are taking place. We're watching the economy inflate to a level that has devalued the dollar to the point that, go out to your local grocery store and look what you're getting as far as for the bang for your buck. How many bags of groceries are you filling up versus what you used to be able to? The gas pump. How much are you getting is to fill up the tank versus what you used to?
Mhm.
Everything. The cost of housing grossly inflated to
Mhm.
the point that most people now, especially younger generations, are finding it hard with the interest rate being what it is and the amount that you need in income to secure a loan for an average sale of a house. For the first time in the nation's history, the average sale of a home across our nation is $400,000.
Oh, man.
Who would have ever thought?
I know. Well, and they say the quiet part out loud, David, because I mean, Greg Trummel, who's director of inspections here for the town of Normal,
Yeah.
he's come out and he's said the quiet part out loud. He goes, "Younger people don't want ownership, and that's why they're not owning homes." He claims that that's the reason why younger people don't want to own homes, that they don't want ownership.
Yeah.
He also says it's because of interest rates and things like that, and because it's the inflation and the cost of it. But he says that there's something within younger people, and I think that there's a deep misunderstanding of younger people not wanting to own things. I think true,
Wanting home ownership, the
yeah,
American dream,
yeah,
because they don't like it when you put America with the dream, because that is totally inconsistent, counterintuitive to where they would like to drive it. Earlier this week, Tim Gleason, Pam Maurice, and the gentleman from the Economic Development Council, his name escapes me right now. They spoke with the realtors because they were going to give them insight to all of the new developments that are going on. Now, are these developments for single family, or are these multi-family developments where we house people in very close quarters and we dictate how they move throughout our smart city because we've got electric buses now?
mhm. We've got electric buses now that don't work and might just catch fire, but it's all
Well, and,
right.
and as far as I know, that was the major company that produced those buses is no longer in business. They went bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, this is the thing that I think that we're dealing with when they
Mhm.
talk about number 4 in this article, the Greater Depression. This is what they're moving towards. Kat, can you imagine that suddenly all of your assets, and this is point number 5, um, is that your financial assets will disappear at some point, whether because of inflation, bank bail in, not bank bailout, but bank bail in, market wipeout, or the great taking. That sounds interesting, right? The great taking.
Mhm.
Casey believes physical assets are where I need to be ultimately, meaning that those people who truly hold real estate and gold, those folks have protected themselves. Because think about it.
Mhm.
We just alluded to the cost of buying a house now. If you own real estate, if you own these multi complexes, residential complexes, when the inflation is up, you're collecting more rent.
Mm.
And those are appreciating assets. And most people don't have that type of appreciating asset. They live from paycheck to paycheck. Some actually have to borrow monthly from a credit card. So they continue to get in the cycle of chasing themselves and trying to pay off debt that they're never going to pay off.
Yeah.
And that's what number 5 assumption is about, is
Yeah.
that your assets will disappear.
Well, it's
Certain
incredible.
people,
So,
not the
just
elites.
some inside baseball, an example in my life where I'm starting to see this play itself out is, I've got an apartment that I was subleasing, right? Or trying to get subleased. And it kind of is all through me. And I get the applications and I send the applications through the leasing company. And nobody can pass the application. There's hundreds of applicants,
Yeah.
but nobody can pass the credit check
Hmm.
and nobody can pass background check, which is incredible. And the leasing company tries to keep it, but they're very honest with me. The applicants, they'll sit there and they'll say, "Yeah, I didn't pass the credit check. Yeah, I didn't pass the application or the background check," and it's incredible to me because I'm like, man, have we gotten to a point where people can't even, I mean, this isn't a stringent process. This is not, applying for a home. This is applying to rent a low, I would say lower. This is one of
Affordable
the,
housing.
this is affordable housing. Yeah,
Yeah, they can't afford affordable housing because
exactly.
of their
Because their
bruise,
credit
their
is
credit is
so
that's
beat
right.
up.
Well, and they haven't gone through financial responsibility courses
Hmm.
where they've learned to manage. U Ultimately, you're responsible for every dollar that you make and every dollar that you spend.
Hmm.
You can't blame anybody for there's plenty of opportunities to work. And once you work, then you have to make a decision. Unfortunately, for some people, they go out and they buy things they can't afford. Does
Mhm.
that sound familiar? The
Yeah,
federal government,
the
the
federal
state
government.
government.
Yeah.
We borrow from our children and our grandchildren. These folks who are applying for subletting your apartment, they've already gone through wrecking their credit. And how old are these people that are applying?
I would say, like, 19 to 27.
Yeah.
In fact, I even had an illegal immigrant apply, and he does not get paid legal, like,
Oh, he gets cash.
he gets cash under the table,
Yeah.
and he goes, "Well, I can't
Well, he's ahead of
provide
the
proof
curve
of."
then, right? He doesn't do digital currency. He's he,
So he might
uh,
actually be alright.
yeah, how was he going to go about paying his rent then? Those poor people were going, oh my gosh, he brings in a wheelbarrow every week, with coins, because ultimately that's what happened in Argentina. They imploded the
Mhm,
economy. So if you wanted to take $100 and exchange that in Argentina, you ended up with a bag of pesos.
mhm.
That's where we're going.
Well, and I love your story about the apples.
Yeah.
So this is an amazing
I was
story,
out.
folks.
I'm
Stay
going to be
tuned.
back out harvesting apples.
Yes. So this is actually a great example of, what we're going to wind up getting to when our dollar is so inflated to where it means nothing. Uh, so he's talking about physical assets trade. So share the Apple story on our harvest special. This is Cities 92.9. I'm Kat Peterson. Right over there is David Paul Blumenshine. You can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Be sure to like and subscribe to our channels. The DPB show is Sunday from 1 to 3, and Conservative Cat is Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m.
So my harvest special with the apples is a great story, because ultimately this is how we used to live in an agrarian society, right? We traded goods and services, chickens. They still do that down in third world countries like Haiti. They have goods that they trade back and forth. They grow their vegetables. They raise their chickens. They have goats. They trade because they have an economy where the Haitian currency is, means nothing, right?
Mhm.
It's so devalued. But I have a source where I can go out and get red, delicious apples.
Mm.
These trees are bountiful. I've never seen anything like it. And I go out and I get those apples. I take and I gather those apples, and I can either sell them, if I were to be in that mode of going to a farmer's market or something like that, or I can exchange them for somebody that's willing to do the work to change the apples into applesauce, apple chips, apple cobbler, apple crisp, all the apple things. I sound like Bubba.
Caramel apples.
Yeah, caramel apples. I sound like old Bubba in
And
Forrest
Forrest
Gump,
Gump. Mhm.
with shrimp. How
Right.
many different ways can you get the shrimp? Well, that's apples.
Yeah.
And that's unique because that's where we used to be.
Well, and David, you wouldn't want, where we're headed here in America, you wouldn't want to trade those apples for money. It
No.
just it wouldn't be an incentive, because that money would be would have no value in comparison to the trade
Yeah.
of just making it into applesauce, apple chips, maybe
Or I
even
could just eat that apple,
we're
you
gonna get to
know?
that point where possibly just eating that apple is gonna be better.
Everybody's got to eat, Cat, as Meatball tells us.
Meatball. Everybody's gotta eat.
That's right.
Okay, Meatball.
More chicken. That's my campaign. More chicken.
Okay, we gotta get on to another, assumption. So, are we at assumption
Number
6?
six.
Ooh,
Number
this is my
6.
favorite one.
Are we transitioning here any? Do we need to do anything special for our radio side of things?
Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. I'm Kat Peterson. Right over there is David Paul Blumenshine. And this is our Harvest Day special.
That's right.
Harvest Day special.
Harvest season, Cat.
Harvest
It's a
season.
season,
There's an
not one
entire
day.
season, not
That's
one
kind of
day.
like election day and election season. Now
Mhm.
we have election season, election. We have Christmas season. We no longer have Christmas Day. Everything's a season.
Everything's a season.
Can be
It's a
year
harvest
round.
season.
But this is an important season, right? Because harvesting and preparing ourselves with what lies ahead. We are watching this manifest itself right before our eyes. None of this is conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy fact. And this number 6 is really big because we started to talk about it a little bit when we were dealing with the digital ID.
Hmm. Yeah,
And
because they don't use the digital ID to actually do what they say. They pitch
to
the digital
enforce the
ID.
law,
Yeah.
to enforce, they have traffic catching, digitalized, so they can hopefully keep control of the policing powers and things like that. Capturing license plates, especially at toll booths, things like that. Once again, it's used as a service. Well, number 6 is in the assumptions from Mr. Casey in his article, which is mirrors the dark future of Glenn Beck, is increasing crime and disorder. In his sixth assumption, the increase in crime will lead to greater physical threats to our lives and property from our fellow man. Casey warns that avoiding urban environments is likely a safer bet, which we brought up in Chicago. That right now, it's expanded beyond the 12 city blocks that it used to be, right?
Hmm.
I think it was a law enforcement officer, a Chicago PD told me, uh, that if you put a net around about 12 blocks, you'd catch 85% of the crime that's going on in Chicago. Well,
Wow.
unfortunately, as technology has advanced, criminals have advanced through the use of technology. So it has moved beyond the the inner city to the suburbs, all the way into the city of Chicago, the nicer areas where tourists like to go. And getting back to JB Pritzker and his lauding how wonderful Chicago is, and it's the best city in America.
It was incredible, David, because I saw on Twitter, I was just scrolling, right? I was just
Hmm.
scrolling, going through my news for the day, and I come across this video, and it was so ugly, I just couldn't stop looking. You know, those like it's a bad car wreck, you got to look.
Yeah.
So I was watching, and this man gets pulled out into the street. They're beating each
Yeah.
other.
Plummeling him. Yeah.
I mean, blood just
Yeah.
everywhere.
Because they don't care about that person.
No,
And it's not about robbing him. It's just about the satisfaction of beating him.
beating him,
Yeah.
up, and
Yeah.
he falls down to the ground in the street, and I recognized the area, and I was like, "That's in the Loop."
Yeah.
I toured colleges in that area, Columbia College, I was looking at
Yeah.
schools in
Chicago.
Chicago,
Yeah.
and I couldn't even handle the hustle, like,
Yeah.
back then, but this guy falls flat on his face, and he's sitting there, like, lifeless. This guy comes out and drags his body out of the street because the cars are laying on the
On
horn,
horns. Yeah.
telling him to get out of the road, but
Yeah.
this guy, like, literally
Right.
can't move, so
Yeah.
this guy comes out and pulls him out by the feet as if it is a straight up war zone. I'm scrolling on Twitter, I watched that. The next tweet, Governor JB Pritzker talking about how Chicago is the best
The
city
best
in the
city.
nation,
The best
and I
city.
was sick to my stomach. The propaganda,
Yes.
he needs to be charged with pushing out this propaganda, because what if something happens where somebody reads that JB tweet and they're a low information voter, or they don't understand what's going on in Chicago? They think, oh, Chicago's the best city. I'm going to go move there. I'm going to go move there, or I'm going to go visit. And then all of a sudden they're pummeled in the street like this guy
Well,
was.
with digital ID and a video, it's on the internet.
Yeah, it's
I
on the
mean,
internet.
go and arrest these people and charge them.
Yep,
Oh, we don't charge
charge
people for
people for
crimes.
crime.
And what is the rationale behind that? Because we are creating, or I once again sticking with the thought of this 11 assumptions, or basically, or what is happening in our society, the 11 plans global elites have for our future, and then talking about dark future through Glenn Beck. Casey is spot on. Doug Casey is that they're really building themselves a force to reckon with. Because how do they buy and sell? These folks exist in our society. Now they're not being held accountable. No cash bail, the Safety Act. They basically can commit crimes without any repercussions.
Mhm.
What are they doing? They're letting illegal people in from the border. We don't know who those people are. The people don't realize. I don't think, I know many of the listeners, our listeners, they realize that,
Yeah.
but they don't realize how subtle this is.
Mhm.
They're building an army of criminals.
Yes.
It's almost like some of the movies, the futuristic movies. you know, the Goon Squad or whatever that movie was, where they taking the criminals and they're making them the law enforcement. Well, how do you think they're going to enforce the law?
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, remember a couple months ago, or maybe it was a year ago, where they decided that they were going to give people these vests in
Oh, yeah.
Chicago.
Yeah, in
Another,
Chicago, they
because
actually
safest city, you know,
it's
number one city.
$200. You're
Yeah.
right. I mean, in this instance, it's just blatant. They're making them law enforcement and their army. The non-citizens becoming police officers
Yeah.
ties into that, but
Legislation. Oh, yeah.
in Chicago, it's a state program, so our taxpayer dollars go to it. It's not just exclusive to Chicago. Like most things in
Yeah.
Chicago, things passed with taxpayer money. But they're ex-cons.
Yes.
So they'll serve 10 years. I think it was this guy, a fellow, he served 10 years for murdering
Yeah.
somebody. It was
Yes.
caught on tape.
Yes.
It wasn't even like, oh, maybe he didn't murder someone. He served 10 years only, which is incredible to me. How do you murder somebody and only serve 10 years? But I digress. And then he's given a vest and
Yeah.
$200 a day to go out there and act as a guidance counselor
Yeah.
to
One
other
of these.
criminals in the
Yes.
streets.
Yes.
It should come no as no shock to you, the listener, that this gentleman
Was
grabbed a law-abiding citizen
on film, recorded.
on film.
It's not like there's any mystery of who this person was.
No, he no mystery at all because he has a record. We know exactly who this guy is.
Digital ID. We got a picture of him.
He grabs this law-abiding individual out of the car, pulls him out, almost like I would say almost curb stomps him,
Yeah.
but he doesn't like stomp him, but he throws him down onto the curb and beats him so bad he had to have plastic surgery done on his face, like reconstructive
And
surgery.
this was one of the people in charged with de-escalating
Paid $200 a day from the state
de-escalating
to de-escalate
situations. Yeah.
criminal activity.
Criminal activity.
This was a law-abiding citizen. This was not a criminal. He
No.
pulled him out of his vehicle while he was stopped at a stoplight.
Because he was wearing the badge or the vest.
He was wearing the vest. Yeah, they were given vests and they were tasked with being.
He didn't think about taking the vest off before he committed another crime.
Yes. I wonder where he's at today. Probably out there in the street.
He's probably still wearing the vest, getting paid $200.
And one thing that I wanted to
I thought that we don't want to defund the police for doing exactly what this man was supposedly doing, even though we know police. There's a small percentage of police officers, even to this day. Most of our men in blue, as I'm sitting here today wearing my Team Blue Line garb from David Quinn, Rep the Blue line.
Back
yes,
blue flag right
back the
here.
blue flag. You know, our law enforcement is so critical. And as I've shared with you, law enforcement did not support J.B. Pritzker in his run for governor for the second term.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get the endorsement of our law enforcement officers. He did get the Fraternal Order of Firefighters to endorse him. I don't have a clue why those folks even continue to get behind this man, because their jobs are going away. Their jobs are going to be given to somebody wearing a vest too, without training to put out fires.
Yeah,
which
a criminal or a non-citizen.
That's right. Really, we don't want to put out fires, though. We want to create fires.
Well, and that's what I wanted to talk about with this last assumption for this hour. The sixth assumption: crime is just going to increase, and that is how the global elitists are going to take this country away from you. And we're going to review all six here in just a second. So if you missed any of them, you're tuned into Cities 92.9, David and I. We've got about 4 minutes left. Really quick, this crime is creating all of this chaos, David. And it's creating a space where I am so focused on public safety, where I can't focus on financial assets. So it all kind of ties together, where you're so focused about finding something to eat, about your basic necessities of public safety. You're so focused on that you can't focus on, hey, I need to get like physical assets. Hey, I need to diversify my portfolio, and I need to really buckle down and harvest for the good here, because
The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
It truly is The Walking Dead. Zombies. People are so blinded to what is going on. That's why we're covering this today. And it's going to continue. It's not going to get better. Unfortunately, I wish it was. But however, through programs like this, Conservative Cat, The Morning Buzz, Speechless, Eldonzo and Dees, The DPB Show, Ty Smith, Chandler and Swan, we're trying to bring you the content that they're not going to talk about this on the government paid for radio station across the way. But these assumptions are spot on from Doug Casey. Assumption number one is basically they're going to limit freedom and your movement. And through these smart cities, through vax passports, through visa requirements. Assumption two, they're going to eliminate cash. We're going to be a cashless society. Don't let them inject it with the chip, because they're chipping people. In countries, they're chipping people. People are digitally
in this country.
That's right, in this country. The third is the digital ID. It's already here. They have a picture of you. If you got a social media account, they've got plenty of pictures. Some of you, they've got too many pictures of.
OnlyFans, folks.
That's right. Pictures I don't even want to see. Number four is the Greater Depression, meaning basically they're pumping this thing. They know what they're doing. They took this economy that was second to none. America was really leading the world. And within months, Joe Biden, Barack Obama, who really is leading the charge, and the global elitist imploded our economy because that's what they wanted to do coming out of the World Economic Forum. And Klaus Schwab wrote a book about it, The Great Reset. This is what they want. This is what the Great Depression is going to look like. And it's going to be here soon, according to Doug Casey, as early as 2024, which leads us to our fifth assumption that we covered. Financial assets will disappear, meaning all that you've saved for, even if you've got a little bit of savings in an account, all of it will be gone. You got an IRA? Gone. Stock market? Implodes. Gone. Everything will be gone. And finally, how they accomplish this is increasing crime and disorder. Not meaning increasing crime and disorder. That just isn't a naturally occurring thing.
We're dismantling.
It's a lawless society. We are propping that up. We want more criminal activity. That is why we would rather take guns from law-abiding citizens and let the criminals keep their guns. It's not an effort to decriminalize illegal gun activity.
6 assumptions. I love it. 6 assumptions, and we're going to hit the next ones. We have 11 in total, but these are 11 plans global elites have for your future. This is not conspiracy theory. We're not as gullible as they like to think that we are. These are conspiracy facts, as David Paul says. Join myself, Kat Peterson, and David Paul on the other side, and we're going to continue our talk about these
7 through 11. We've got a few more to go.
We've got a few more to go. Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington.